Friends, it is the end of July, which means one thing and one thing only. It is garden tour time. I want to zip you around for just a very casual garden chat today. I have some things that are blooming, some things that I wanted to update you on, and some of you have been requesting a full-on view from the front. So hopefully this gives you a bit of a lay of the land. So if you are new here, first of all, welcome. Second of all, when you approach our home, we wanted this edible ornamental space directly out front. We live in a smaller 1940s cottage, and so space is at a premium. And when you're not remodeling, a great thing is to extend your living to the outdoors, and that's exactly what we've done. Because we are also on a hill, I wanted our food and our high-touch items really accessible, because the more you can bring your high-touch areas, such as a raised vegetable garden, close to the home, the more successful you're going to be, because you're going to see it day in and day out. So as you come up to the front of our house, we have our edible area here. We have our dining room over here. One of the first things I want to update you on is actually this front little border. Now, what you're going to notice with all of my spaces is nothing is like finished. It's always a work in progress, but I had planted these little hummingbird mints a few weeks ago, and they were looking sad. There wasn't a single bloom on them. And this one is just bouncing back so beautifully. I really wanted to bring in more of that like peachy apricot. And then as you kind of come down this way, I have a couple of little bunny tail grasses that have not tufted yet, but are looking gorgeous. And everything is playing so beautifully together. If you come in closely, this is one of my favorite things. My Aringeron is coming along beautifully, and look at this. This is Sedum Autumn Joy, and you can see just the very beginning of this blushing up and coming into bloom. This rosy tone pairs so perfectly with the Aringeron, and you can see them already starting to play together with the little blooms coming in. So this is coming to plan just as anticipated. I think I want to add a few other little items out here, but I'm letting this area come to me as kind of the days roll by. I haven't settled on anything yet, but so far I am loving the Aringeron. I'm loving my sweet little tufts of grass, the sedum. This is great for a very low water zone because it is super, super dry out here. Okay, let's go inside the garden. I'm going to show you some other things in bloom. One of the first things that I want to update you on is this front porch container. I am loving this. We actually got really hot really quick and sustained that for several weeks in a row. We had 3 weeks where it was just blistering heat and it was excruciating. The lobelia did suffer a little bit. It got stunted, but she is blooming right back on schedule. So just this electric blue lobelia. You can see this kind of little ephemeral bit here of the euphorbia coming through. My sedum is just so super duper happy. And then you see a little bit of this helichrysum. And for me, and this is something I want to encourage all of you to do, is I want you to find your own design style. For some people, this is simply too much, and that's okay. For me, I love smushing my plants together. I love things commingling. I love just a big old experiment in the garden. So back here, when I have these little bits where I've got the helichrysum kind of weaving in and out of the lobelia, this is something in the design world that makes my heart sing. And this is a newer coleus that I haven't used before, and quite frankly, I'm kind of bummed. I wish it was a little bit bigger. She isn't doing as well as I had wanted, but this is again why I always trial things in my home garden before I put them into a client's yard. This is my experimental zone, and I absolutely love it. Friends, this next little trio I wanted to update you on, and this is kind of mirrored very similarly at the other corner of my dining patio, but this was again another experimental zone. So I've just trimmed back my datura. Here's the deal. My datura is not as big as I want it to be. I had high hopes for it. I hadn't grown a lot of devil's vine before, but I think I may pass on it. I love the upward blooms. I love the doubleness of it. It's so gorgeous, but I want something bigger in here. What has performed really well are these sweet little cosmos. I am really obsessed with them in this container. It adds so much life and so much whimsy and just a lot of movement, which I think is really, really wonderful. And as you can see here, this is my 5-star jasmine. I planted it last year and it was just a teeny tiny little thing. And we are training her up to the top of the pergola and enjoying just kind of this first flush of blooms. It's looking super duper good. So next up is my centerpiece. I will link the video when I created this down below, but this has been so perfect. This is such a low water arrangement. I mean, I think I've watered it all of twice maybe, and then we did get a little bit of rain, but that's it. And it is so pretty. It is performing so, so well. My only complaint is this portulaca. It tends to brown out a little bit, and I don't know if it's just this particular variety. It was kind of a no-named variety, but it still doesn't deter me because look how beautifully it's filling in. It's lush, it's lovely. And then right here in the center is this fuzzy, fuzzy little sedum, and it is growing leaps and bounds and just thriving. I mean, look at this here. This little fuzzy sedum that I put in the middle, I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but there's so much new development on this plant, and I am really loving the softness that it's bringing to the center of this arrangement. And of course, these deep plummy tones are about ready to bloom. And I am so excited to see the vibrancy of this pink kind of just pull us into this late summer. Friends, this is another spot that I was working on improving this year, and I thought I might have some gaps in here, but I don't actually think I do. I added a bunch of lamb's ear simply by dividing what I already had. This is Stachys byzantina, and then I added this new plant. This is a Gara called So White. And it is adding the perfect amount of movement, of vibrancy, and it also is pairing really, really well with my soil. Because as you know, if you've watched any of my videos, we have incredibly sandy soil. It's very quick draining, and it needs just kind of the right fit for it to thrive. Anyways, So White Gara, giant thumbs up for me, adding so much to this border. So this front border, you're gonna notice I don't have a lot of color right now. I have just pruned everything back and we have some new rose buds coming on. So we are between flushes of roses. And so this is something pretty typical that you will see in a properly maintained rose garden, is you'll have a peak and then a quiet moment and another peak and a quiet moment. And so one of the things that I'm kind of thinking of is what else can I bring in that will offset that peak? Because what I'm also noticing is my salvia is between peaks as well. So really my only blooming element, oh, and my lady's mantle has gone over. So I'm really at a little bit of a valley, and the only thing that I have going on right now is my feverfew, which is actually so stinking adorable. I am really, really loving it. It's cottagey, it's adorable, and I love how it is pairing right here with this deep colored sedum. This combination is just really making my heart sing because you have so much texture on texture on texture. So I think we are just a few weeks out from a fresh set of blooms all across this border, and I could not be more excited. And then also, you can see where I've cut back most of my salvia here. I just saved a couple blooms because the bees have been so, so, so happy here, and I want to keep them coming back. Okay, let's take you across to the vegetable garden next. Before we jump over to all of the other edibles, I wanted to show you my apple mint. This is a newer variety that I'm trialing this year, and it has been really a beautiful performer. And in my tea video, I showed me cutting this back pretty savagely, and it is taking all of that trimming back and absolutely thriving. I've done nothing but create a bushier, more healthy plant. And so I know for a fact this is one that I'm going to keep in my tea cabinet for many years to come. So I want to show you this next area of my vegetable patch. I have a couple things that are going well, a couple things that are not going well. And in the spirit of transparency, I think it's important I show you both. First and foremost, what is going well? My leeks. My leeks this year are chef's kiss. They are sensational. I am seconds from harvesting my first leeks because they are getting so fat, and I cannot wait to use them in the kitchen. So this is going very, very well for me. A couple things that are not going well, I'm gonna pop around the other side and I'm gonna show you. It's my carrots. Friends, I'm officially on my third sowing of carrots, and it has been a very frustrating experience for me. The bunnies that typically do not bother this garden are back in full force, and they've told all of their friends, and it is beyond frustrating. This right here, which you can see right here and right here as well, is what I'm dealing with. They have nibbled down to the ground practically every carrot that has germinated. And so I've just gone through and I've done another sowing of carrots, and you can see right here, I have just a few little babies cropping up. So all in all, it's kind of been a frustrating year from a vegetable perspective because the bunnies are just savage. They're just always up in my business, and I am really struggling on the vegetable front, which is one of my favorite things to grow. So I've added a couple of geraniums here just for kicks, just because I felt like this was leftover from seasonal color and I wanted something beautiful in here. So, and hopefully they will see these geraniums and decide that nothing else is delicious in here. I don't know. I may be scrambling for that one, but we'll see what happens. The other thing that I want to show you that is not super successful that I'm going to move is my blueberries. So this is a teeny tiny blueberry. I think this is Bountiful Blue, or maybe it's Top Hat. Can't quite remember, but I had 2 of these left over from the garden show 2 years ago, and so I just plopped it in, and it does okay. I mean, like, is it the best? No. Is it the worst? No. Am I still gonna eat delicious blueberries? Yeah, I am. But I think these are gonna find a different place in my garden. I think it's just time. They aren't super successful. They really need more space, and so I'm gonna relocate them. Haven't figured out exactly where that's going to go yet, but it is what it is. Okay, friends, I almost forgot. I want to give you a squash update. This is my tromboncino squash, and I could never make a decision on the trellis situation, so I just added this obelisk structure that I already had in my garden. And I'm going to go ahead, and as you can see, I am once again using these awesome compostable clips from Seattle Urban Farm Co. I will totally leave a link in the description below. I bought a bag of 100 of these bad rides, and they are awesome. Just awesome, because when I take down my veggies at the end of the season, I just throw the whole thing into the compost. I don't even worry about what is compostable and what is not. It just, whole thing, and it goes. So, very excited. She's finally growing. Okay, friends, next part of the veggie patch that has actually changed quite a bit. I did have peas growing all along my fair trellis. I have since cut those down. And actually what I did is I literally snipped them down at ground level and left the roots in place. And my cucumbers are now up and ready to be trellised. And so this past weekend I came in, and what you're gonna notice, actually I'll bring you in kind of close, is I've used these really cool little compostable clips that I got from Seattle Urban Farm Co. And what you do is you kind of clip your little string, your little loop down as low as you can on the cucumber. Okay, and look at this cute baby right here. Is she adorable or what? And then as they grow, you can see we have sweet little tendrils here, but until those tendrils take over, I just gently twist it around, and it is going like really, really well. I mean, I literally just did this 3 days ago, and some of them are all ready to climb up another rung. And it's really easy. You just kind of give it a little twist as they start to go. So let's get this one here too. Ooh, that's already climbing on. Okay, I don't need to do it. Friends, when you see this, it is like, first of all, I feel like a proud mommy. Like, this cucumber is just doing her thing. And that's when it's like, all right, baby, that's all you. You get to take off now. And in the meantime, I will just train up the rest of these until they have gotten the memo and they start wrapping themselves independently. But vertical trellising, So easy, you guys. So, so, so easy. Never be afraid of it. It is just a piece of cake. Okay. Now that I've shown you something really successful, I think I need to show you something very tragic. Let's look at the beans. So friends, we're gonna take a look at my beans. As you can see by all of these little sticks, this is more death and destruction courtesy of my current bunny population. So we had a bunny get in here and they made quick work of these beans. So good news, bad news. Bad news, they chewed off all of the tops. Good news, they haven't been back and everything is kind of springing back on its own. You can actually see right here too. Do you see on this strawberry? It's like, what jerk bunny eats all of the leaves off of a strawberry? I mean, it's just driving me banana pants. I'm gonna come around. So the other thing I'm doing here is I'm not only using like Repelzol, some granular, but I'm also planting some flowers that bunnies do not like right along the edge here. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they kind of see these and are automatically deterred. We will see if it works. So far, over the past week, I haven't had any additional damage. You can see here where they have nibbled the ends of my alliums, which I'm like, you guys, bunnies aren't supposed to even like these. Yet, there they are. So in any event, the good news here is that we are getting our first blooms on the bush beans. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that they just take this as like a very aggressive prune back and we are gonna have some beautiful bush beans in no time. This corner of my raised vegetable bed is actually making me really, really happy right now. I don't know why. There's something about this combination, but I have beautiful, beautiful, fragrant rosemary. I think this is ARP. I think this is ARP that I'm growing, but I love Tuscan Blue as well. That's another really great high oil content rosemary. And I think one of the reasons that I love it is because of the color story that's going on here. We have this amazing texture of the rosemary. We have this beautiful blue strappiness of the leeks. I have a couple of carrots that have actually gone to seed, which I'm not super mad about it. And I have this lovely. So this is borage, and this borage is the Alba variety. Anytime you see Alba in a name in the botanical world, chances are pretty good it's gonna have a white flower. And so typically you would see borage with a sweet little blue flower, but this is the white one, and it is so sweet. It is so sweet. And what's really kind of fun about this is I love the botanical meaning behind a lot of different flowers, and borage is courage. And I think it's just really appropriate for my year this year. Having courage, trying new things, getting back on the horse. I think it's just a great addition to the garden. Oh, also, this self-seeded in my garden, which I'm so pleased as punch about. I love borage. I think it's beautiful. I love having it in the garden. The bees love having it in my garden. And so she is a very welcome addition, but she's not an aggressive self-seeder, which I think is actually very cool. In fact, my tomatoes self-seeded more aggressively than my borage did. Oh, more bees coming in. Okay, I want to show you my hydrangeas behind me. So up against the dark house, I really wanted a bank of hydrangeas. This is Limelight. Some people think it's like played out. Everyone has a Limelight, but guess what? I don't care. It is my garden. I do what I want. And I love a Limelight hydrangea. I think they are soft. I think they are lovely. The thing that I actually really love about them is I love the bright green up against the charcoal of the house. I think that contrast is just lovely. And also, this one is getting like a little blush on it, which it makes me so happy. I love it when I can plant a singular flower that looks a little bit different depending on the time of year. And for me, Limelight hydrangea is just, it's one of those. I love it when it ages out. I just love the whole bloom cycle. So I'm very excited about my hedge. Pay no attention to the weeds back there. This is a very real garden tour. Make no mistakes about it. But I also wanted to show you something else. Now, this is something that I did not intend on. Right here. Okay, so this is Physocarpus. It's a 9 bark. And I love this deep, deep foliage in the garden. It also echoes a lot of the darker sedums that I have planted. This is actually a color that I want to work in more in my garden. What I didn't anticipate was this cute little thing. This is the bloom off of one of my hostas. And I had some hostas left over from a project and I just threw them in the ground. They probably need more shelter than I am providing them here. But what is so fun, again, for me, what I love in a garden is I love it when my plants mingle together. And that is what this has done for me. And this color story and the tonality of it, I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed. And then just sweeping right into this brightness, I could not be more pleased with this little happy accident right here. It is bringing me an insane amount of joy in my garden. Okay, I think it's time to go to the back. All right, let's do it. All right, friends, we have now found ourselves at the back of my home. So back of the home right there. And I wanted to update you on my small space that I renovated maybe a month ago now. And I am really enjoying this space. I am really enjoying it. It is bringing me just kind of like a sweet little, I don't even know what to call it. It's just like that little morsel of joy that can be found in the tiniest ways. And this isn't a finished space. No space in my garden is ever finished, but it suits my needs for right now. And it will evolve when it evolves. So I'm going to take you in and I'm going to show you some updates. All right, friends, I want to update you on my garbage planters, as we're lovingly calling them. First and foremost, this sweet potato vine is just killing it. This thing was the teeniest, tiniest twig when we brought it home. Now my sunflowers, those have been a harder rehab. This is the long game. However, look at this. This is probably my second or third bloom off of this sweet little nugget. And down here, she's sending out more blooms. And then also right in here, we have a bloom. So not only are they alive, but they are making a comeback, albeit very slow. And then here, I mean, this alyssum, also called lobellaria, it is blooming like crazy. And it's the sweetest, softest texture. And I love that it's starting to cascade down. This is also, check this out, the little lobelia. There's another one in here. This lobelia is taking a little bit more to get it going, but she is happy and blooming profusely, and I think it's going to be a really lovely complement to all of this alyssum. Okay, friends, here we are. The next garbage container. I was trying to shift it into the shade here a little bit so I could photograph it better. Would you look at these zinnias? These zinnias were literally going to be thrown away. Literally. They were going to go into a dumpster. Same thing with this scaevola. Are you kidding right now? Look at this thing. And then can we take a moment for these petunias that have made a glorious comeback? This one is about twice the size as this one over here, which I knew. But for a free plant, that is not bad at all. I would say in another week, she is going to be, I would say, about equal to her sister over here. And then, because I had it, I tucked in a little bit of alyssum off the back here. And this is planted in the Crescent Garden container. And you know what's funny is I don't know, this one seems to be actually springing back with more fervor. And I wonder if it's because it has that deep reservoir in there. But I am really, really happy with this container. And these zinnias, oh my gosh. I mean, just look at this thing. It is blooming its little head off. So all in all, not bad for a bunch of plants that were destined for the dumpster. Okay, friends, next up is my little seating area up here. And I am really loving how everything is filling in. And my style is very full. It is very lush. It is things just kind of playing together, intermingling. And I have to say, I think this might be my favorite container. I am loving the layers of everything that I've got going on here. This is the this is the eucalyptus silver dollar, and I have it combined here with the sweet potato vine called Blackie. And then you can see where it's popping up here. And then this is Pennisetum orientale. And I've packed 3 of them in here, which I probably at the end of this season will pop out into the landscape. And then right here, I have already cut back my second flush of callas. And look at this thing. She's just coming up here. And I really love the fact that you see all of this movement, all of this texture, and then a few little callas popping up. And then of course, this incredible petunia. And then around back, obviously need to deadhead my verbena here. And look at this, the little vinca. This color combination here for me is so fabulous. It's moody, it's awesome, it's deep, it's just layered. Loving, loving, loving that. And then of course, these 2 containers here are blooming beautifully. I'm loving both of them. I mean, honestly though, this one right here with this frothy Artemisia, I mean, it's just so, so, so layered. I think the next thing I need to do is cut back my salvia right here. And then also I'm going to cut back my pennisetum because it is ready for its next flush. Okay, this last super tall container, I just wanted to do a brief little peekaboo. My sedum here is growing along beautifully. She's planted at the edge of the container, so it drains more freely, it gets less water. And then I'm pretty much only putting water on top of my sweet potato vine and my black-eyed Susan vine, which I love this as a drapey element. I think it's super unexpected, and I just love the baby pink that's going all the way down. And then you can see here, I've cut back my pennisetum, and look, she's already pushing out her next flush of flowers, which I'm very, very happy about. Friends, welcome to the cut flower garden. I think this is actually officially the first time I have shot in this direction, because previous to even just last week, it felt so, it felt like such a weight to show you all of just the stuff I still had to do. But you know what? We're embracing it. We're going for it. So I'm going to show you what we've been up to back here. It has been a lot slower than we anticipated, but we had work. All right, friends, showing you a very unflattering view of the back of our home, but this is what it is. Right here, we have a chain link fence. This is shared with our neighbor. I would ideally love to get rid of this, but it is not in the cards right now. So we are working with what we have. The problem over here, though, unfortunately, was this was a absolute freeway for rabbits getting into the garden. So this past weekend, we literally spent 2 days reinforcing the entire surrounding of the garden. And so what we've done here is we have taken kind of a fine gauge chicken wire, and we have buried it a foot under the ground all the way along the fence line, and then tacked it into the retaining wall that's at the other end. And what we are hoping for is we are hoping that this is enough to keep the bunnies out of the garden, because they have literally ate over 100 sunflowers, half of my zinnias. They started in all my snapdragons. I mean, it has been an uphill battle of epic proportions, and we are so done. So swinging you back around this way, everything is kind of a little slow right now. My dahlias are so tiny. I don't know what the deal is. They've been glorious the past couple years. Here is our tomato row, and you can see I'm about ready for my next chamomile harvest. Are these so cute? And then this next row. Let me show you. Okay, so first and foremost, mums are cooking along. They are doing so, so, so well. And luckily, the bunnies have only nibbled. They have not taken them out entirely. Next, snapdragons. And we have I cut back half, I would say 2/3 of them. But look at this. This is just one of my favorite snapdragons. This one is Potomac lavender. She is smoky, she's lilac-y. She's got a little bit of like deeper rose to it. I mean, this is one of my favorite snapdragons of all time. The other ones that are blooming is this little one. This is Costa Silver, and it's white with just a little bit of blush on it and a really sweet little bit of yellow right there at the throat. So this is Costa Silver. Then going back down here a little bit more. Look at this monster. This is Potomac Royal, and she is budded up and so tall. It should be blooming any day now. Oh my gosh. And then I want to show you one more down here. This is Costa Apricot. And what is really cool, and I hope this comes through, is on the mouth of each one of these little buds, you get this like mix of yellow and orange, almost like a sunsetty pink. It is so pretty. And so this is bringing me just insane amounts of joy. And you can kind of see, I chose to only cut back 2/3 of my snapdragons because I really wanted to enjoy a few blooms first, cut them, bring them into the home, and then cut those in turn back so another flush could emerge. And I feel like it's the right choice, my friends. Okay, and then this row, I haven't yet gotten any support in, and so you can see they're a little bit shorter, they're a little bit bushier, they are a little bit more wayward with the sun. You can see actually like right here. See what happens when you don't support your snapdragons? They go all like Lolita, low-lying. But check this out. So you can see right here, we have a bud that is just about to crack. It's just, they call this cracking color. I mean, and it's just fabulous. Unfortunately, she's a little wayward. Her stem is a little bit wonky, but it's gonna be gorgeous. Okay, I also want to show you one thing before I show you my new project. This is a gladiola called Espresso. And I have grown a number of gladiolas, but this deep, deep, deep espresso is probably one of the favorites that I've ever grown. And so I may actually pop this out of the cut flower garden and bring it into other areas of my garden. Haven't decided yet, but I am really, really loving this. And it just feels so good to finally have cut flowers again that I get to bring into the home. Friends, this next area of my garden is actually what started the reinforcement project that we did this past weekend, because it is, I will tell you, when you've worked so hard for months on end to get a garden to this place, plant your zinnias, you're watching them emerge, and then all of a sudden you come out one day and you just have little sticks coming out of the dirt. Like it just is soul crushing. So a couple weeks ago, I planted all these zinnias, and some of them were from Florette's new collection, and those are not cheap seeds. And I had a bunny come through and just ravage I'd say at least half of my zinnias, and it is like so sad. But I am going to show you what has popped up because there were a couple that were saved from total destruction. Okay, so here we are, a little tiny baby, having been saved from the ravages of the bunny. But look at this. I only have maybe a couple right down there, and like that's it. So devastating. What's so funny is I feel like the bunny came along like this backside over here and just went down the line. But look at this. I have a few survivors. And I know it's really late. I know it's really late. Oh, yep, here we go. Look at that. Rabbit poop. Okay, I think that's left over from when they were here. But as I was saying, I know it's late. I know these might not bloom. But you know what? Unless you try, how do you ever really know? You know what I mean? But look at this. These were precious metals. And how many can we actually find here? Not a one. Oh, no, one. I have one. There we go. Were there any others? Oh, yep. 2. I have 2 out of all of this. And here, I'll show you what the bunny damage looks like. Do you see these 2 little just like sticks right here coming out of the ground? That's what they've done to everything. These were going to be adorable little zinnias, and now I just got sticks in the ground. Here are the other ones over here. Let me see if you can see these. Yep. So this is what I came out to. Hundreds of zinnias just decimated. But I have a few little baby survivors down there, so I'm crossing my fingers. Friends, welcome to the south edge of my cut flower garden. And this was home of the project from this last weekend. Oh man, it was 2 days of digging and trenching. Like I said, on the north side, we buried it a foot. We did the same thing over here because bunnies were getting in. There were a couple spots where the fence was decaying underneath and they were just sneaking right on through. So we have stopped the bunny highway for now, we're hoping. And what I decided to do is I was really inspired by all of the tours that I went on, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And I was craving another like border to develop, and I was craving some shade garden because the shade gardens there were spectacular. So I have started a little baby shade garden, and I have a client who we had planted a bunch of oak leaf hydrangeas, and unfortunately bunnies and deer and everyone else and their mother found out about it. And if you don't know anything about hydrangeas, hydrangeas are relatively resistant to rabbits. However, the one that is not is the oak leaf hydrangea. And the oak leaf actually happens to be one of my favorites. So I planted this not knowing the damage that would follow. And so anyway, so I went and I replaced all of them for the client. And I was like, it just needed to be done. But I didn't want to throw away the hydrangeas. And they were nubs. They were down to like 1 foot tall, maybe 9 inches tall. They had just been chomped completely down to nothingness. Oh, they also had deer. That's the other thing. So I brought them home and I have been spraying them with repellent and nursing them back to life. And actually, they look really good. So on the south edge, I have installed a little sweeping border of them. I'm going to spin you around. Since we were trenching all along this fence line, I decided to take the opportunity, sorry about the sun flares here, to plant a beautiful arc of hydrangea. This is a hydrangea called Snow Queen. And so she comes out with just a beautiful white panicle. Now, because these were savagely eaten by bunnies, they are not blooming this year. However, next year they should be gorgeous. And I'm going to show you this foliage. This foliage was, I mean, when I say these were sticks, they were sticks. And so I am really pleased with how far this sweet little hydrangea has come. It gets some really beautiful, also fall color. And so I'm super pleased. And then of course back here, you can see probably with more clarity than the other side, all of the rabbit proofing that we've done. And we had to, if you kind of look here at the bottom, this is the neighbor's fence. And some of it has these little kind of light areas where rabbits were able to kind of like dig in and come through. Oh my God, I would die so hard if a rabbit popped through right now. I would laugh. Okay, and then as you come down here towards kind of what is the more western edge, you can see that hole right there. That was completely tunneled out by a bunny. It was crazy. And then further down there as well. Hello, compost. So we have reinforced this entire fence line. And while I was out here digging, I was like, well, let's just get rid of the rest of the ivy and everything else. And I've planted a little hydrangea border. Okay, and then I want to show you one other really fun thing. This is my neighbor's vine. And it is arching. Actually, let me take you inside. Okay, so right here, this is my neighbor's fence. And this is a huge arching vine that comes probably about 6 or 8 feet into the property. And Brian and I, we are not mad at it. We kind of love it. We love that there's like a little sneaky squirrel spot under here that we get to enjoy. But let me show you what's really fun about this vine in case you don't know what this is. This, my friends, is a kiwi. Now, the story about this kiwi is my neighbors planted a male and female kiwi vine. In case you don't know anything about them, you need a boy and a girl. And it never produced any fruit because the male died. Well, 3 years ago, when we first started this cut flower garden, or maybe it was 4 years ago, we planted 8,000 flowers. And for the first time ever, kiwis were produced on this vine. And so look at these. They are not only such a beautiful flower, but then also look at this. I'm sure everyone's seen a kiwi, but dang, have you ever seen one growing? And so these probably won't be ready until I would say November. They have a really long growth cycle. And so we didn't get to taste any last year, but we're going to see what happens this year. But they are adorable and they're fuzzy. And it is just, as you can see, like we are covered with kiwi laden vines and I'm so excited. All right, friends, we have reached the bottom of the garden and I want to start by showing you this kind of like sweet view through the Rudbeckia. And this is a Rudbeckia I planted a couple years ago and it has reseeded and come back just beautifully. And I am so, so, so happy with it. This makes an excellent cut flower. And in fact, probably next week, I'm going to show you the new varieties I'm adding to this patch. But let me take you onto the patio and give you an update on the planters. Here we are up on top of the patio, and I am just as in love with this space as when I first planted it. Okay, this is kind of a silly view, but I wanted to show you this Rudbeckia. This one is a new variety. It's called Prairie Glow, and it has a little bit of orange in the middle with these yellow tips all the way around. This one is a triloba variety, which the trilobas are inherently a smaller bloom and more of a branching habit. And what's funny is let me take you in here. I accidentally snapped off the middle, if you can see that down there. And I was so mad at myself. I was so furious. I know I'm not the only gardener who's done this before. I was like, gosh, you dolt. So clumsy. But you know what I did? I brought it home and I put it in a jar of water and it is currently rooting in my kitchen. So kind of like magical happenings. I might have more that I can plant out in the garden. And bringing you around to the other side, this petunia, this cinnamon petunia, I am just obsessed with it. What's funny is it's getting a little bit of raspberry here that relates down to this heuchera. And then over here, of course, we have our gorgeous banana. And I have to show you guys, do you remember when I was planting this? And I discovered in amongst these dumpster plants that one of them had a little verbena growing in it. Check it out. It is this deep purple verbena. And sometimes when you buy these kind of like pre-potted arrangement, you get some real ugly combinations. That to me is just like perfection because it's right in back of this gorgeous sweet potato vine and the colors are just perfection. And then look at this celosia. Is that so fun? I just absolutely love it. And it is so delightful. Look at this giant brain here. The only bummer is that this celosia, I don't know what the scoop is, but it seems to be kind of like getting a little heavy and splitting in the middle. So I may try to take some weight off of the back to kind of perk it up a little bit. All right, my loves, look at these two planters. They are bringing me insane amounts of joy. And one person had commented that these were your favorite, and it was a shame that they were behind this little settee, this little love seat we have down here. But here's the scoop. My house, when you are in the kitchen, you look down on this area and you get this incredible bird's eye view. So literally none of this is lost. And look at this. Sweet little details at the edge. We've got the parrot's beak. We have the Marguerite. And just everything coming along beautifully. I am really, really loving this container. This probably is one of my favorites on the property. I'm loving a trough moment right now. I don't know what the scoop is, but like it just is, there's something about how like the orderliness of it, the little tufts of grass coming through it. I'm just pleased as punch. I'm super tickled. And as you can see, it is like just the most fun backdrop to this seating arrangement. And last planter on the tour today is this epic planter here. And it is just starting to fill in. And now these were some of the last planters that I did, and they were planted in a heat wave. So for all intents and purposes, this sucker should be on the struggle bus severely, but look at her. Beautiful. And can we just talk about that combination right there? I love, love, love those beautiful warm tones. The Artemisia in the middle here, just cooling it down. And then this glorious Pennisetum. Man, oh man. The one on the opposite side is actually taller. Let me zip you over there and show you that one. And I'm not sure why. Not sure why. Because both of them were planted at the same time. But then check this out. This fresco apricot, I actually was talking to one of the people from Monrovia last weekend at the Garden Fling, and I was telling her that I just did containers with the fresco apricot and also added a leftover one to my front border, and just how much I'm obsessed with it. I mean, I love the multi-petal. I just love the whole shape of the thing. It is so very fun. Okay, taking you around to this one because I think this gives you a better sense of where I'm headed with this arrangement. But do you see how tall this has gotten, this Pennisetum black stockings? And then also, do you see how my echinacea is starting to play with it, right? And then you have this layer of silvery Artemisia here. And just great movement. And the strappiness of this foliage and all the color is bringing up, it's tying in the very center of this fresco apricot. I mean, this is so fun. And also, this is the other thing I was hoping it would do. I love that we get this little peekaboo moment for passersby down below, that they get to see just this little dusting of grass right above our fence line. Friends, thank you so much for coming along on my July garden tour. I was beginning to fear, and I know this is probably a fear that some of you have. I was like, oh gosh, are things grown enough? Are things big enough? Have I made enough changes? And at the end of the day, honestly, I think I want to give visibility to that because it's really important that I maintain a human connection on this channel. We all have those fears of, am I good enough? And for me, I'm out here putting this on a public platform, and it's like, oh gosh, what are people gonna say? But at the end of the day, I am really proud of all of the steps forward we've taken. They have been carving out little minutes of time every single day to come out here to take one baby step forward. And what is resulting is a space that my family is really enjoying. So thank you for joining me on another tour. I'm going to see you in the next one. And in the meantime, get out there and say hello to your garden for me. We'll see you soon.